On this edition of Good Day DePaul, President Trump's policies lead to protest in Chicago.
A Chicago school deals with confusion and concern in a community fearing immigration raids.
And one local farm loses its chicken flock as the bird flu hits Illinois. I'm Morgan Kirsch.
And I'm Vivian Matson. This is Good Day DePaul.
Protesters in Chicago take to the streets. Their concern, the policies of President Trump. Good Day DePaul's Nathan Wiegraff was there.
Hundreds of protesters took to the streets of downtown Chicago, demanding action on two issues: the Trump administration's deportation plans and the violence in Gaza.
I want you to vote to stand up every week, every day against Trump, against fascist USA, to stand for justice for our people.
We are really showing that working people are united to oppose fascism, to oppose racism, to oppose his co-president Elon Musk making Nazi salutes at the inauguration.
The march, which remained peaceful throughout, was a show of solidarity for both the Palestinian people and immigrant communities facing deportation.
If Trump's rhetoric is anything to go by, he intends to double down to inflict further misery on us. But at the same time, we're not afraid. It just means we have to fight back harder.
Activists from more than 60 organizations gathered outside Water Tower Place before marching to Trump Tower, calling for the administration to immediately halt military aid to Israel and reverse plans to deport undocumented immigrant families. The demonstration is the latest in a series of protests across the nation following President Trump's slew of executive orders his first week in office. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Nathan Wiegraff.
It shocked the entire country. On January 27th, the Trump administration ordered a freeze on federal grants and loans. But after more than a day of nearly nationwide panic, the White House rescinded that freeze. Before the order was rescinded, DePaul President Robert Manuel said he'd been reassured by the Department of Education that the freeze did not apply to student loans or Pell Grants. Manuel went on to say that the government did not expect a delay in those grants or loans. He said the Department of Education anticipated funding for the federal work-study program would also continue. That program helps support campus jobs. Manuel said student financial aid would continue to be processed and certified without disruption. He said the university was assessing how the freeze would affect federal research grants at DePaul. But again, as of January 29th, that freeze was rescinded.
President Trump recently signed an executive order ending diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in the federal government. I took a look at how DEI programs are being impacted at colleges, including DePaul.
DePaul University says it remains committed to diversity. This after a wave of DEI attacks and cutbacks at universities and companies across the nation. DePaul now has a new vice president for DEI, Dania Matos. University President Robert Manuel said, quote, "Dania exemplifies how to connect our commitment to diversity and justice with our mission work, consistent with our faith community. DEI, or Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, is a framework that promotes fairness and opportunity for people of all backgrounds, especially those who have been historically underrepresented."
DEI are policies that are supposed to encourage institutions to rectify past injustices by bringing in individuals of different races and women who have historically been excluded from participation.
DePaul's DEI action plan includes steps like creating an inclusive experience for students, increasing diversity in students and faculty, and fostering a respectful work environment. DePaul journalist in residence, Professor Chris Beery, describes the university's commitment.
DePaul University has at its foundation that the university is going to help the disadvantaged.
The rise of activism during the Black Lives Matter movement triggered a 27% increase in DEI spending in the U.S. Since then, conservative politicians, judges, and activists have tried to cut back on diversity efforts that they deem unfair, claiming they interfere with equal opportunity for all groups of people. Here at DePaul, most African American students disagree with that claim.
DEI does not only represent a couple of marginalized groups. DEI is an effort for everybody.
In 2023, the U.S. Supreme Court decision in Students for Fair Admissions v. Harvard marked a turning point for diversity efforts. It banned the use of race as a deciding factor in public university admissions. And that's already had an impact. Black undergraduate enrollment at Harvard is down 4%. Some Black people see cutbacks in DEI as a lack of respect.
If you see somebody not getting respect, you're not going to give them respect. And I think that we're taking 5, 6, 7 steps backwards to whereas we don't see people as people anymore, and we see people as problems.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has banned DEI offices, use of diversity statements, and racial preferences in hiring at public universities in the state. In the last 2 years, 215 colleges have announced DEI cutbacks throughout the country, and 17 states have introduced or passed laws restricting DEI. In Michigan, Black people represent almost 14% of the state's population, yet only 4% of the students at the University of Michigan are Black. This despite the fact that the university has one of the most expansive and well-funded DEI offices in the country. They've spent over $250 million on the program since 2016. Here at DePaul, 8.9% of the students are Black, with 20.4% Hispanic. DePaul's position as a private Vincentian university makes it less vulnerable to laws affecting public universities. Some hope the university will not be influenced by anti-DEI efforts around the country.
I think DePaul should think for itself on this. I don't think DePaul should be influenced because the incoming Trump administration is antagonistic to DEI efforts, and because Trump's political allies have made a crusade out of blaming DEI for everything from crime to the fires in Los Angeles.
After a pro-Palestinian encampment was forcibly removed on DePaul's Lincoln Park campus last May, many students of color have felt apprehensive toward the university administration.
Every school has a chance to do better, and DePaul has a chance to do better. Are they actually going to do it? Let's wait and see.
DePaul's new DEI Vice President Matos comes from the University of California, Berkeley, where she was Vice Chancellor for Equity and Inclusion. She says, quote, "My role is not to speak for others, but to create room for others to speak for themselves." And at DePaul, that means keeping the university's commitment to diversity. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Vivian Matson.
The Trump administration says it's now deporting people who are in this country illegally. The administration confirmed that a range of federal agencies are making targeted immigration arrests in the Chicago area. And fears of deportation recently led to a misunderstanding in Chicago. It happened at Hamline Elementary School on the South Side. Officials said ICE agents came to the school and tried to question people, but the Secret Service later said its agents were at the school, not ICE agents. The Secret Service says they were investigating a possible threat at the school.
Meanwhile, 4 immigration advocacy groups in Chicago are taking legal action against the Trump administration. They're suing the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. They've asked a judge to stop the agency from conducting raids in Chicago if those raids are aimed at stopping free speech on immigration.
The bird flu. It's now hit a farm in Madison in the southern suburbs of Chicago. The disease killed about 3,000 hens at Cockadoodle Farm. The Agriculture Department is urging farmers to take added precautions to prevent further outbreaks of the disease.
Next on Good Day DePaul, a homeless tent encampment may be closing in Chicago.
And apartment rentals in Chicago, how affordable are they for DePaul students? Those stories when we return.
I think we should split.
Split up? Why?
I want to meet new people. People who need me.
Meet new people? You're my left kidney.
You only need one of me, man. And you have 2. There are plenty of people out there who are dying because they don't have one.
Really?
You'll be giving the gift of life.
I could be a hero.
Yeah. It's all win-win up here, buddy. Why don't you go and save a life, pal? You're doing the right thing.
Last October on Good Day DePaul, we reported on a homeless tent encampment on Chicago's northwest side. Homeless people were living in Gompers Park, and many residents of the area were unhappy. Now, Alderman Samantha Nugent says the city will soon move the homeless out of the park and into shelters. Nugent says that will begin on February 24th.
Many DePaul students live near the Lincoln Park campus, but that can be expensive. Good Day DePaul's Lane Wyatt has more.
The Lakeview neighborhood of Chicago is a great example of all the things that the city has to offer in terms of living space. Studio apartments up to a luxury high-rise multi-bedroom apartment. However, the possibilities are not so endless for the average renter. What is the cost? According to Apartments.com, the average rent payment in Chicago for a 661 square foot apartment is $1,847. That is a 2.2% increase from the past year. Logan Barb, a resident of the neighborhood, has an apartment on Belmont Street. He, however, used the word room to describe his studio apartment.
Well, I originally moved to Chicago for a job. I work in sales, and I got the opportunity to work here, which I'm very grateful for. And I am very aware that this is a very small apartment, but it's just me here. I don't mind it too much, but it is definitely small. And for $1,300 in Chicago, this is... people who visit from out of town don't exactly call it a bargain. But moving in this city costs $1 million. It's impossible to get around, rent the U-Haul. There's a lot of logistics involved in moving. So it is what it is for now, and I have learned to love it here.
Though Chicago is in its 10th consecutive year of population decline, spacious, affordable housing is still a prevalent issue in the city. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Lane Wyatt.
In sports, the DePaul men's basketball team lost to Butler 88-67, dropping their Big East record to 1-9.
In women's basketball, DePaul's won 2 in a row, beating Xavier and Butler. They're now 6-3 in the Big East.
Next on Good Day DePaul, the story of a former DePaul student who's come back from a tragedy.
Stay with us.
2004 Skateboard Championship.
High school, moped.
What about you, Slim? Anything?
Something.
Looks like Slim's got a little paper cut.
It's nothing.
Come on, man. No, I'm gonna make you tell me.
Hey, kidney transplant.
When, dude? I didn't know you were sick.
I was donating it.
Someone in your family?
You gave your kidney to a complete stranger?
Yeah, saved his life.
Wow. All right.
Everyone can save a life by being a living organ donor on matchingdonors.com.
Now a follow-up to a story we reported on last quarter. In October, former Good Day DePaul reporter Winnie Dortch was shot several times in a domestic incident in Cleveland, Ohio. The shooter then killed himself. Winnie was immediately hospitalized but recovered quickly. At the time, she was a reporter at a Cleveland television station. Just before that, she had been hired as a reporter at WGN-TV in Chicago, her hometown. Well, now some great news. Winnie has started work at WGN and is reporting on a full-time basis. She is still recuperating from her injuries, but is doing well.
That's all for this week's edition of Good Day DePaul. You can keep up with us by visiting our Vimeo channel at Good Day DePaul or by going to goodday.depaul.edu.
And be sure to check us out on Facebook and YouTube.
And if you have any news tips, message us through the Good Day DePaul social media channels.
Thanks for watching. I'm Morgan Kirsch.
And I'm Vivian Manson. Have a good day, DePaul.